The reason that statues of Lady Justice show her wearing a blindfold is because it is not supposed to matter who is being judged, what they believe, or who they voted for. The rule of law demands an equal application of the law, without fear or favor. That's why we're here today. The FACE Act is a federal law originally designed to equally protect access to abortion clinics, pregnancy resource centers, and places of worship by prohibiting threats of force, obstruction, and property damage. Unfortunately, over the past 4 years, the Biden-Harris administration has weaponized this act, disproportionately targeting pro-life Americans for FACE Act violations while simultaneously failing to protect pregnancy resource facilities despite being the target of growing violence. On May 2nd, 2022, a draft copy of the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs was leaked to the press and gave rise to widespread attacks on nearly 100 pro-life facilities and 300 Catholic churches, which were vandalized, damaged, and even firebombed. Only in the aftermath of the leak did the DOJ begin to more aggressively pursue FACE charges, yet these prosecutions did not address these significant increases in violence, but rather the largely peaceful pro-life demonstrations at abortion clinics. Since the start of the Biden-Harris administration until May 2024, the DOJ had brought a total of 24 FACE Act cases against 55 defendants, with only 2 of these cases concerning attacks on pregnancy resource centers. To this day, FACE Act has never been used in defense of a church since it was passed in 1994. And when the DOJ does prosecute pro-abortion activists, the vigor with which they pursued and penalized these individuals pales in comparison to the penalties faced by pro-life advocates. Take, for example, one of our witnesses here today, Paul Vaughn, who was prosecuted for praying outside of an abortion clinic. Vaughn was arrested when an FBI SWAT team raided his home at gunpoint early in the morning in front of his wife and 11 children, later sentencing him to 6 months of home confinement and 3 years of probation. Another FACE Act defendant, Lauren Handy, was sentenced to 57 months in prison for her role in protesting late-term abortion within our nation's capital. And I would note, this happens to be an individual that I don't always align with philosophically. In another grotesque prosecution, the weaponized Biden-Harris Justice Department recently sentenced a 75-year-old grandmother, Paulette Harlow, to a 24-month federal prison sentence. And again, in the case of Eva Idle, an 89-year-old, I repeat, 89-year-old death camp survivor who is awaiting federal sentencing for her peaceful advocacy for praying for the unborn at abortion clinics, where prison time could be a potential death sentence given her age. And she is a survivor of concentration camps and abuse in Europe. And still you don't see the weaponized Biden-Harris Justice Department pursuing anti-life activists who vandalize pro-life clinics with the same vigor. One day after the Dobbs leak, a pregnancy resource center near the University of Texas campus was vandalized with pro-abortion slogans, banners were torn down, and memorial bricks were dug up from the sidewalk, all while activists chanted, "My body, my choice." No arrests were made. Similarly, a pregnancy resource center in Houston was vandalized with "Abortion for All" written on the front of the clinic, locks gluing the entrance shut, causing $10,000 in damage. No arrests were made. But it doesn't stop with the FACE Act either. This law is just one tool that the Biden-Harris DOJ has issued in its years-long crusade against political dissenters. The DOJ's Civil Rights Division has chosen to undermine election integrity laws, suing states like Virginia for taking steps to ensure election integrity. The DOJ targeted Ethan Heim after he revealed that his employer, the Texas Children's Hospital, was performing illegal transgender medical interventions on minors. The DOJ's Civil Rights Division opened pattern or practice investigation into local police departments in search of patterns of misconduct during the height of the defund the police movement. They advised colleges on how to get around SCOTUS's ruling on affirmative action, ensuring race remains a key factor for admissions. The Biden-Harris DOJ would rather focus its time and resources on these efforts as well as going after pro-life grandmothers, sentencing them to years of federal prison for, at best, a trespassing charge instead of targeting actual criminals. The Civil Rights Division has been used as a tool against the civil rights of the American people, undermining their freedom and liberties. While we expect the incoming administration to end this horrific practice of the DOJ, that is not good enough. The American people deserve to know that their rights will not be violated regardless of which administration is in power. It is long time for Congress to address this weaponization legislatively. The Republican Congress must start to ensure that future weaponization is not possible by passing the legislation H.R. 5577 to repeal the FACE Act. And it's not enough to merely end Biden-era discrimination. We must act to reverse these wrongful imprisonments, reuniting families who've been collateral damage of this administration. The Trump administration should consider pardoning and commuting the sentences of FACE Act defendants who have been victims of this targeted harassment. Unequal application of the law is not truly law. It is tyranny imposed on those who didn't have the power by those who do have it. That's contrary to everything we believe as Americans. I thank our witnesses, some of whom know these abuses all too well, for being here today to address the need for fundamental and permanent reforms at the Department of Justice. I now yield to the ranking member for her opening statement.